Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board for Tuesday, July 21st. I'd like to ask for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
Before we do that, I've got a small correction on the minutes.
Oh, we're at the approval of the agenda.
Oh, at the agenda. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll second the,
Okay, we have a motion and a
I'll second
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now I'd like to call for a approval of the consent agenda, which would include the approval of the minutes.
So move.
okay, I'd like to make a minor correction on the minutes. I think on item 3, Karen's listed as the secretary still.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I will get
And then
that.
at the end, I believe the person that takes the minutes has to acknowledge that at the end, and that would be Jesse.
Yes,
So-
thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve all of that with those changes.
Good catch. I'm surprised Karen didn't catch that. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Also on the consent agenda was approval of the finances, the library finances. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second. Any other questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports. Joseph.
Nothing too exciting. We have money. It's always a good thing. We did receive 2 donations, one from Hetzel Law and one from Delta Defense, that were pretty nice to cover a good portion of the month's expenditures of the summer reading programs.
Any questions for Joseph? I see we did get the operating fund, the outreach listed the way we had, and that looks good. I think that looks good, where we now have an operating fund and a restricted fund. When do we get money, did we get the money from the county for outreach this quarter, or this past month?
For outreach.
For outreach. Has that been approved or not yet from the county?
It has not been approved yet.
Okay.
It will be done at the August meeting.
Oh, their August meeting?
Their August.
Okay, thank you. Any question? If not, we will move on to item 5, public comment. Public comment. Library Director's Report, number 6. Amy?
We are back to regular hours of operation for the library now, and we are Monday through Thursday 9 to 9, Friday 9 to 6, and Saturday 9 to 1. Our statistics are starting to show a bit of a rebound to close to, we're getting there, I should say. We're back in the 32,000 range for circulation. We are low on patron count still, but we're working on that. So hopefully that will help. With us being open longer, hopefully that will help our June or July numbers.
Has the county updated their level with where we stand, or are we finished with how the county, the county said there's no mask policy and opening right now restaurants. The last I remember, restaurants were at 75%. Has that changed, or is it still at that level?
I have heard that it was dropped back down to 50.
Amy, do we have patrons who, and I know once we open hours, we should see more patron count. Do we know if we have patrons who, for health reasons, can't come into the library, and do we have a plan? Like if I called and said, I put 5 books on hold and I can't come into the library, do we have a process to serve those constituents who might need that yet?
The curbside service?
Yeah.
We do not have anything in place right now. We are working on possibly doing some curbside for those that cannot enter a building due to health reasons. Right now, we're working with our staff to make that easy transition and process. So if someone were to call and say, my doctor says I can't come in, yes, we will do curbside for them.
Okay.
Have we had any calls?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Once you have come up with a plan, though, I suppose you'll advertise that then, or?
Yes, we're thinking of having that service maybe at certain times during the day. And then we could possibly advertise it.
Because it worked out well when we were just doing curbside and people set up an appointment to do that. I think that worked out well. Okay. Any other questions for Amy regarding the hours?
Okay. Let's see. The 2021 operating budget is being worked on right now. We still have a few unknowns, so I cannot present a budget to you this month, but I will be presenting a budget to you in August, at the August meeting.
Now, we're still waiting for, like you stated in here, figures
Yes.
for life insurance, the risk management.
Right.
Have you, one of the things we had asked that you do with the budget is come up with your budget.
Correct.
Not with the cities.
Correct.
So
Yes.
we'd like to see that. And I'm not sure when the city is gonna give us an idea of how much money we're gonna be getting.
I haven't even heard myself, and I'm also waiting for the budget to come from the county.
I think, yeah.
But could you not put together could you not put together a budget that you would like to have regardless of how much the city or the county gives you?
That would be very difficult to do because our budget includes expenditures and revenues.
No, I think what Doug is saying
No.
is exactly what I had said. We'd like you to put together a budget that you say, that you put together a budget, your ideal budget, okay?
Okay.
The reason you can't do it right now is there are pieces that are missing, such as the
Correct.
life insurance. You could have actually put together some of that information, and then you'd have to
I have to refigure
you'd
it.
have to restate it.
Well, you could set up your anticipated budget, leave the numbers open for life insurance and all of that. But if you feel you need 5,000 for materials, and the city comes in and doesn't allow that much money, you still leave the 5,000, and then we can see what you want and what we're short.
Correct. The
But
budget process this year is like a month late.
Amy,
So-
you should be able to sit down tomorrow morning and come up with a budget that you would like to see. That's all we're saying. We don't,
Okay.
we don't have to wait for a month for something. You can do that. And this is, board, this is what I'd like to see. Here's how much for materials, here's how much for this and this and this and this. Regardless of what the city gives us and regardless of what the county gives us. But it's what you would like to see for the library.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Amy regarding budgets? Okay, can move on. Do you want to talk about,
Summer reading program.
yeah, and, yeah.
The summer reading program is continuing, and it ends at the end of this month. Our take-home craft bags have been a huge success, and we have given out all of them that we have prepared. So it's been a really good feature to have at the library. Parents are very grateful for that service, and are looking forward to it every week that we offer it.
How many do you give out?
100 for each age group.
And what is the cost per, is there a cost that we're,
Yes, there is a cost. It's built into the budget for the children's programming. I can get that number for you from Terica.
Well, when you said do you give out a certain quantity each week?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
And what are you looking at for a total? Like, 10,000 packages, 5,000 packages?
We do 100 bags a week for each age group. So that would be, a Storytime one would have 100, which is 0 to 5 years old. Then the elementary age is a STEM project, and those are for elementary school age kids. And then we have another craft for teens. And each of those is 100, so we give out 300 a month.
and how many weeks have we been doing that for?
5
So that's been coming out of the budget for those.
for programming,
Programming.
children's programming.
Not just children, because there's a.
Yeah, the adult one comes out of the adult
Right.
summer reading line, yes. And, that's all I have.
What are the statistics? I didn't print out your report. So is the statistics like the last item in your report?
Yes,
I just want to make the pluses and the minuses, whatever, those are all basically due to COVID, right?
yes,
Okay, that's what I suspected, and we'll probably see that affecting us the rest of the year.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I would think our totals for the year compared to last year are gonna be.
They're gonna be down.
different,
Quite down,
yes.
yes.
But one of the things that you did mention, Amy, is that we're getting close to the February numbers that we had. So
Right.
what we had in February now, we're almost back to there, even though we hadn't been at full operation.
Correct. So, we are starting to see the rebound come back.
Any questions for Amy? I see you had your report in here about the Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
Did you want to give us a little, now that you've finished that?
Yeah, Dale Carnegie was an interesting course. I wasn't sure what to expect when I went into it, and I learned a lot about communication skills and leadership skills in those regards. I went through in my report about different things that we had done, and every class we did 4 to 5 brief presentations. So we had time, we had about 11 minutes to prepare on our own, and then we practiced it with a partner, and then we gave it to the whole class. So, and those presentations were anywhere from a minute to 2.5 minutes. So anywhere in between there.
So if you had to make a point, say, what were the top 2 things you took away from this class that you felt you've learned?
I have more confidence now in speaking with other people, and I'm able to start a conversation a lot easier than I had been in the past. And I also learned that when I'm expressing my point of view, to not be afraid to do that, and to back it up with evidence.
Any questions for Amy on the class? Okay. President Director's report. Nothing for me to report that isn't on the agenda. So we'll move on to old business, number 8A, Monarch Library System update.
I'm glad to announce that Kimberly Young has been selected as the system director. Kimberly comes to us from Lower Michigan in Houghton Lake. She was last a library director, and previous to that, she was at Brown County Library as well. So I'm looking forward to meeting her very soon. She just started at Monarch, so I have an email out to her to invite her to come to our library and give a tour and to talk to her more about system services with our library. So in other news, Beaver Dam is joining Monarch Catalog. They are in the process of joining us. We don't have a timeline as to when things are going to happen. That is coming very soon, I've been told. And they will let us know when their patron records and item records are added to the catalog and when we can start placing holds on those items.
That, for the newer board members, I'd say about 6 years ago, maybe or so, Beaver Dam pulled out of the system. They did not want to be with the rest of the libraries in our system. And that caused the catalog to go down. I think it was close to 1 million, wasn't it? No?
I think their collection's about the size of ours, which
Okay.
is like 215,000.
Okay, 215,000, which is a big amount. I know it was a big deal when they pulled out. So for them to be coming back, that's a big deal. So I think that's really good.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that they pulled out is they were more of a lender than a borrower, because Beaver Dam community really supported their library and built up a very nice, they were able to build up a very nice collection, and they were getting upset because so many people were taking their books, and there wasn't a resolution made, so they made their own resolution and pulled out.
And part of it was the fact that the way the old system handled it, it would sort by alphabet for books, and Beaver Dam was the top one. So if I'd go out and request a book, like our current system, West Bend would be my primary, because I'm listed as primary, so it looks there. But in the older system that we had, it would say, oh, Beaver Dam is the first one. If they have the book, that's where we'll go look. So they weren't looking in
Your
our
home
other
library.
library. So Beaver Dam was getting hit pretty hard with a lot of their stuff. And like Doug said, Beaver Dam's council and city really supports them from a materials standpoint.
Then if I could, I'd also like to make a comment on Kimberly Young. Not only does she have the library experience, but if you were to see her resume, she had a number of jobs, and she was a military wife, so she moved quite a bit. And for the last year, she was going to take 2 years, but for the last year until COVID hit, she was traveling, stopped working and traveled, and was in India and, you know, that part of the world. She spent quite a bit of time. And she, I think, is going to bring a lot of other than just strictly library experience to the system. I'm really looking forward to the impact she's going to have on Monarch.
Okay. National Library Card Sign-Up Month is in September, and Monarch is working on doing a campaign for National Library Card Sign-Up Month. So they're working with Bridges Library System on this campaign as a partnership, and the focus will be getting local people to use their local libraries. So there will be a digital toolkit available for libraries to utilize on social media and on their websites. There will also be SEM, which is search engine marketing, being done. So if you type in on a search engine, you know, ebooks or, you know, a keyword, you would actually see an ad for the library card sign-up month and the web address to go and sign up for a library card. So different things like that are going to be happening. There will also be at least one billboard in each county paid for by Monarch. And Washington County Libraries are collaborating to put an additional billboard in Washington County on Highway 45. So that collaboration with the 5 libraries, we were able to afford another billboard for that month.
Good.
So,
We're
my
gonna be
goal.
keeping go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. My goal for the West Bend Library is to have a 5% increase in library card signups for the month of September.
And I was just gonna say, you're gonna keep statistics on that.
Yes.
Any questions on that?
I just put it in other news down at the bottom. Overdrive is in the process of purchasing RB Digital. Right now, we have both platforms for different things. Our Overdrive is for our ebooks, e-audiobooks, and some streaming movies. And RB Digital has our e-magazines, some ebooks, and Transparent Languages, which is a language database. So it'll be interesting to see how they collaborate and move everything. It sounds like they're going to move everything to Overdrive. So we might just have one portal for all those digital resources. That's what it looks like right now. We're not sure how things are going to how they're going to look and where they're going to be. And, there's a lot of questions yet to be answered, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that that was happening.
And I would think those are things that Overdrive would be addressing.
Yes, they are. And they will be sending out more communication as time goes on. That's all I have.
That was on Monarch.
Yep.
Next, we move on to the Library Recreation Center discussion. Amy, you want to start that off?
Sure. The Library Recreation Center is a tremendous opportunity for us to expand and to have usable space for patrons in the library. Yes, the space was originally needed by Parks Rec and Forestry, and the concept was brought forward by them to us. However, I believe that it is in the best interest of the library to take advantage of this opportunity to expand the library space for programs and community use. The build-out of the basement into the Library Recreation Center will enable the library to meet the needs of the community and give it space to learn, explore, create, and grow now and into the future. I've been researching different things that are happening in libraries, and one of the main things that's happening is to expand spaces and to have spaces where people can create and where people can gather. This would be one thing to make that happen. This project creates a unique partnership between the two departments and will bring a better quality of life for the citizens of West Bend and the surrounding area. Our focus needs to remain on community, and people want to be able to do things in their community to enhance their life. I envision this space being used for a variety of activities for all ages and abilities, and I've listed some of those activities in the document that's got the questions and answers. So with that, I will take any questions.
Also, I think in regards to what Amy is saying, she sent out in the packet the library recreation points for the MOU, and I think this is the time now we need to look at it and see if you see anything that needs to be changed or modified. And again, this is a working document, it'll have to be reviewed by the city attorneys, the city attorney and that before.
Joanne can talk a little bit more about that as she,
I think at this point, just to add a context here, I think the document with the questions and answers, those were questions that Doug had actually brought to us back in January or February. That's where that came from, that list. And then Amy provided her response to those questions. So that's the context on that document. The points on the MOU, This is an update to the points that we had last month, and it's based on a discussion that Amy, Tim and I had after that. It's a draft still. I think Parks probably has a copy of it, but they haven't had a chance to respond, and we don't know what that response is going to be. So that's the context on this, but I guess we wanted to get this out to you before a lot of time goes by, just to keep you up to date and to flush out any other concerns or any questions that you had, and then we can talk about it as much as we can at this point, other than wait until the very end and present you with something that's a little closer to final.
Tim, do you have anything to add, or?
No, I mean, I think we took the feedback and different things. I know we met for what, an hour and a half, and kind of hammered through, I knew I'd forget to turn that on, looking to find benefits for both us and Parks and Recs. And I think part of the goal was to look at services they could provide that would offset things that we may pay for, or vice versa. And look for some efficiencies in there to help them and us. It is a partnership. We realize there is a benefit to us also. And trying to take out one of my goals was to take out some of the odd language of how we would break things apart and who would pay for what, and really look at some better ways to cost share and balance that out. So it'll be very interesting to see what Park and Rec's response is after seeing this.
In looking at, this is the library MOU document, not the questions and answers. Does anybody have anything that's really standing out?
This is the,
Library Recreation Center points
Oh.
for the MOU, not the questions and answers. First, this one.
what is the value, or what did you anticipate the additional utility cost would be, and what the cost would be for janitorial services, snow removal, and the lawn care? Do those two balance out?
I believe they will.
We don't know, though, because
No, we weren't looking at those balancing out. We were looking at the snow removal and the lawn care. Now, the utilities is not gonna be a large thing because we like that area, maybe not as fully. But the snow removal and the lawn care was going to be an offset to the additional 50,000. We will be getting this service for 20 years. So the lawn care service, right now, we are paying Scott's $800 a month for the park. We will not have to make that payment. That is a dollar amount. Snow removal, I can't give you an actual amount. Maybe you can give an estimate, because snow is not something that you do on a regular basis. But also the fact that the library would not be paying out for those services. They would be given to us.
have they agreed to that?
What has just been said is, this is what we've
No,
asked.
this is draft.
This is
Yeah,
a
this is
draft.
draft.
They're
We don't
gonna
have
be
response.
looking at the draft. They'll have to come back with their information, and then we will vote on that.
My understanding is that the original draft, and I don't have it with me, included the lawn care but not the snow plowing. And part of it then included the fact that we would pay 25% of the additional utility costs, they would pay 75%. If they will take care of all the snow as part of this, we would just then, in essence, take care of the utility costs also. It's also the ongoing piece of, what you're gonna put in there is fairly efficient in terms of HVAC and lighting and all of those types of things. As we see an increased use of that space, it would be my hope that we're using it more than 25% of the time for the library. And it takes away all this different charging different accounts. Like, one of the things originally was in there was, we basically wouldn't get the money back from Parks and Recs for their utility costs till like a year later. We want it billed as is. If we end up going down that route, when they get the bill, if we do the 25/75, it gets paid by everybody in actuals, not this averaging and everything else. So there's no accusation of one entity paying more than the other for the actual utilities.
I believe too, in the original proposal on parks, they had said they would do the lawn care and the snow removal on a portion of the property, but not the parking lot, so that the library would then have to be doing snow removal on the parking lot. And we figured, let's let Parks do what Parks does best. Let's have the library do what the library does best, and not have both entities doing the same job.
So
that was the reason behind this.
are you saying the parking lot would not be included in the snow?
The parking lot would be included, Parks would do all the snow.
It
That's
will
our
be included?
proposal. and then
That's what
we
we're
don't have-
proposing.
That's what we're
Okay.
proposing.
So in lieu of some of the additional things we're asking them to do, we would look at utilities. I think we also looked at, we would take the cost of,
The property
I
insurance.
think, the property insurance. And we're basically trying to balance that out and get into, look, they can provide that service. It's ours for 20 years. They don't need to worry about us coming back to them for property insurance or a utility increase or whatever else. And it then relates a little more of a tenant relationship, and the fact that, I rented a house from you, Doug, and it is my job to shovel the snow, or it is my job to cut the lawn or not, depending upon what the agreement is and what I pay for, and then not get into all these little what ifs and that's and percentages. So it makes it a little more clear cut and dried of who's doing what.
Do we have a anticipated usage by PRF for that room? I mean, you're looking at 100% usage, are they looking at 50% usage? Because it says, right now, PRF has the first priority for scheduling room usage, and the library is second. Is that just the room that they are gonna have their dance stuff in, or does that also include the second room?
Both rooms.
And
Part of the reason, let me just throw this in, part of the reason that Parks got first dibs is because they plan functions farther out than we do. And that's why it was stated that it would be on a 3-month basis, because Parks and Rec, the library comes up with programs. We are a little more flexible on how we can schedule it. We don't have to, tonight, Amy could go and say, I'm gonna schedule a program for next week, whereas Parks and Rec, because of what they have been dealing, how they deal with the kids and getting registration, they need to have more time, so that's where that comes in.
but then if you look further into all the advantages that we're gonna have, there's gonna be a whole bunch of programs that Amy's gonna be, we're gonna be scheduling down there. But we don't know what time we have for that, do we?
Well, part of that, Doug, is if you'll notice, and there's that idea that the library and PRF meets regularly and develops those quarterly schedules. That's where they have to balance out of what time of day and when they have dance. Like that dance studio, and they're still using Pathways, the old Pathways building over here at Mutual Mall. There were cars parked out there tonight when I drove in. That's where Amy needs to advocate, and Park and Recs, you do your internal before you'd even give it to the external of somebody else who's coming in. In my mind, the hope would be is that someday Amy's coming back to us and saying, look, we're doing all these things, and all the space we developed between us and Parks and Recs, there's still enough space, and we need to do phase 2. That's really the ultimate goal of this, is that we increase our programming, all those things that you said, Amy, to make the library expand for all of these different opportunities. And I think it would be my hope within 5 to 10 years, she's coming back and asking for that, and that's even a long time in my mind.
And where are we getting the money for all of these programs and the staff to do it?
We have staff right now that are kind of fighting over the rooms as it is.
So they
We need the
have the
space.
time now to do it?
Yeah, they've always had the time to do it. They've been doing programs all the
No,
time.
what I'm saying, you're talking about, I'm getting away from this sheet, but
So you're looking,
you're talking about these other new programs. And my question is, where are you going to get the staff to do those new programs since our current staff is full-time and fully employed. So if you're gonna have new programs, where are you getting the people for them? And where you're getting the money for that? It all sounds great. All nice pie in the sky. But where are you gonna get the financing to pay for these programs?
So Doug,
So that would be part of the budgeting process. And what we ask for
yeah,
every year.
are you assuming there's new staff to do these things? Or are you making the assumption that it's Amy's job to work with the staff and prioritize
No, I'm,
the new model of what you kind of described the library is? And I have yet to hear any of this cost us more staff time. And that is the expectation going forward, and you understand that's what we're talking about. And I just want to make that clear, that there's no hidden carrot here that we're not going to come back, or Amy's not going to come back, or we're going to be asked to approve in a year 5 new, 2 new, 1 new, whatever people. It's prioritizing and shifting and finding effective and efficient ways to either have larger groups, which kind of is opposite of what we're doing now, but, or reshift our staff. Maybe more of our staff is working evenings and during the day, based upon all of a sudden we have an influx of people coming in after school or after work hours.
well, my point is.
That's the side of it.
If you've got your people working full-time now,
Mhm.
and with their programs, and now you're gonna add new programs, are you gonna drop old programs?
Not necessarily.
Okay, then how are you gonna staff these new programs that we don't even do now because we don't have the people for it, right?
No, I think
I
we
mean-
do have the people for it.
We're just offering more programs, Doc.
We're just
Okay.
offering a wider
You're gonna
variety.
You're gonna offer more programs with the people you currently have,
Yes.
so they're not working full-time.
No, they're shifting
They're
responsibilities.
shifting responsibilities, and they're making the time for it.
I think it's just like any job, you know, you do X, Y, and Z, and now it changes, and you get a new job description. So there may be some things that they aren't doing.
So-
There may be things that volunteers could do more. And regarding costs, funding, you know, we just had a summer reading program, we brought in funding from 2 places for $1,000.
Mhm.
I think the West Bend community is very open to sponsoring programs. We have the Kiwanis that sponsors a family night once a month. So it's one of these things, I think, when we get the opportunity to create a new program, somebody out there might say, oh, gee, I think I'll sponsor this.
But we're not getting that now, right?
What do you mean we're not getting? We don't know what we're doing. We can't go out and ask for money when we don't have a plan.
Okay.
We don't even have the room right now, so.
So all of this is dependent upon additional space?
Some of it can be.
Yes.
Some of it can be.
Size of the programs and stuff that we're looking at.
I'd also like to caution that, to me, we're starting to dip into what that is Amy's job.
Yes.
And I want to respect that, and we should ask the questions, but it's Amy's job to present something that she can carry out with her staff. And if she can't, then we need to have a different conversation why we can't do that in the future. But if we're saying we can do this with the staff we have, and we can expand services to the community, and part of that is finding maybe effective and efficient ways, or if it's ways to adjust staffing or timing or what people are doing or everything else, that's her role. Our job is to say yeah or nay to moving forward with the concept.
And all I'm doing is asking, how is she gonna do it?
You can ask that, Doug, but it's not for us to approve that. We're proving the concept of advancing programming. She's given the idea that she believes she can do within her staffing. It's her accountability, not ours, for that. And that's her job to lead. That's not our job to lead as board. And that's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but.
Well, then my question becomes again, if you look at page 36, there's health and fitness programs, conferences, seminars. All of these seem to be on the assumption that we have to have additional space. Yet, why haven't we tried any of these on a smaller scale now or in the last 6 months prior to COVID?
I think our
We
rooms are being utilized pretty much.
They are.
Our story room will hold 75 people. And
Oh,
maximum.
that's like
That's-
35 adults and 30
Okay.
children.
We just do not have the space to do some of the programs.
Well, what about our maker rooms? What do we have there?
Well, you have maker space in there.
Maker space.
It's a
3D
very
printer.
small, it's a very
That's-
small
That's
space.
that little.
And have we, and then I take a look, have we taken a look at finding the space within the library? Because I was just in there the other day, and there's like a couple of racks that are, wide open. I don't know what created that space. But are we trying to be creative?
I think Amy's been looking at
Yes.
stuff like that, because I know her and I have had a discussion on
And I was
where
gonna
we
talk
could
about that.
utilize additional space, in addition to the basement, because the basement space is going to be, I won't say quiet space, but it's gonna be space where you can have programs that might be a little louder than some of the programs up here. A dance program, square dancing, yogurt, an exercise class type of room. That's something that downstairs would not be a disruption to the rest of the library. And we really couldn't do something like that, because the library is supposed to be a quiet place.
Well, we asked Amy and the staff to come up with ideas to use the space, and that's what they've done. Now you're just picking it apart and
No,
saying, well, what if? They did what we asked them to do. This is just, suggestions.
Okay.
We have to build it. Why are we picking this apart when they did what they were supposed to do? We asked them to do it.
I also asked, when we did that, and to fund it. We haven't talked anything about funding any of this.
We have talked about it. We have authorized $150,000. We voted on that.
That's for a building. That's not for these programs.
But again, like Deb said, we have generous, the Kiwanis in the community. If Terica comes up with a program and she goes out and says, I'd like to approach
Well, I will,
so-and-so.
I'll back off. I've had my say. I'll back off. And in a year or a year and a half, I can come here and say, I told you so, it didn't work. Or you can say, Doug, we did it.
Well, see, I don't think I want to look at it from that standpoint. I'm looking at this as being something for the community. We are building space. Eventually, my hope is that some of the space downstairs could actually be used as like a conference room, rented out to some of the larger organizations. We don't have any large conference rooms in the West Bend downtown area. And when I started on the library board, I don't know how many years ago, and I interviewed some of the businesses around here, that was one of the things they had said. We don't have conference rooms. This would be a great spot. It's a central location in the city. So I know we've got the Parks and Rec that will have first dibs for their programs, but if they schedule out for 3 months and we have something that comes back to us, a business and, insurance or something, I want to have a little conference, they can have it in our basement. We can rent that out. It can't be a money maker.
I realize that. I realize that.
I think the other part to this is, and I'm happy to see this list, because we met in a small group. I had given Amy some feedback to deepen this and help me understand, and part of it is I take my current role of doing working with our K-12 library staff, and then what does that look like in a community, because it's a little different. But when I hear Amy talk about the change of what the library is, this is about vision. This isn't just about space. So we have two things going on. We're building this space, and now with these space, we can do some of these visionary things. And maybe, Doug, they should have come before to push the other, but the reality is we're going there, and that's where we need to go, is at the library as a community center. It's the chicken before the egg thing.
Right. No, I agree.
I just want, let's just have the chicken grow up and be happy. I mean, that's really where we're at is, you know what I mean? That this is where we want. I don't care how we get there, and maybe it is a little bit backwards, and, would I've liked to see Comic-Con, 2 years ago? I'm sure if we would have had it and we would have had it outdoors and it was nice, you'd have a bunch of people show up. You throw the word STEM on something, I guarantee you'll have somebody show up right now. however we're getting there, this is what we need to look at our library as not just about resources to check out. These are different types of resources for our community, and that's where libraries are going across the nation. And yes, they're paired together. And you know what? I would much rather be in a situation where we have to fight for more money because we have quality programming that is utilized by our community than to be able to fight for something when I don't have anything else to throw for it. And I hope that's what this brings.
Yes.
Then I have another question, and this is just in general. I understand that the city let the contract,
No, that is that is coming up. That's under new business.
oh, that's
We're
on,
not in that yet.
okay.
Bids. Any other?
Amy, I have a question on timing. So I know this went to Parks and Rec. Do we have a timeline for them to provide feedback and when we're going to try to flush this out yet?
I'm hoping by the end of the week.
I do know Park and Recs has been pretty busy because the bids have come in and they've been looking at things like that, so.
Have they started their dance programs again?
They're in Mutual Mall.
Pardon me?
They're in Mutual Mall.
They're doing it now.
I believe so, yes.
And they were at Regner Park.
Yes.
They're using Regner Park also.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Gail.
I'd like to ask Deb if anyone else has any questions or concerns about either of those documents in the draft MOU or the questions and answers to shoot those over to Amy, and then as we're working on the final, we'll incorporate those if it occurs to you after the meeting, or, you wake up in the middle of the night and
Okay, I didn't
that's a
understand.
great idea. Please share it.
What she said is, if you have any other input or ideas for the MOU, to send them to Amy.
Oh.
So that they can,
Okay.
she said if you wake up in the middle of the night.
I'm not gonna wake up in the middle of the night. I get it done here and I'm going to bed.
Okay. All right, now we will move on to number 9, new business award library recreation center bids.
Okay. We had various firms bid on the project in different capacities. We had 6 bids for the general contracting. We had 1 bid for the fire protection, 3 bids for plumbing, and 3 bids for electric. No bids were received for the HVAC system as of yet. That project, those bids are due back on the 30th of this month. We rebid that process. The low bids for the project were from North Central Construction Corporation for general contracting, Hooper Corporation for fire protection, Joe DeBellick Plumbing and Heating for plumbing, and Gillitzer Electric Service for the electric. As you can see in the memo, those total up to be $207,370. So, the HVAC system did not receive a bid this time. We did rebid it, and there are people that are interested in it, so we're hoping that we will receive more bids on the 30th.
Did the city let the bids out for construction? I thought you said the city let the bids out, that you saw it in the paper.
The Common Council has approved the low bids for the construction.
But it hasn't been let. Has somebody been told you've got the bid?
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
It needs to be approved by this body as well.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. Then I misunderstood what you said, okay.
Yeah, and as a typical government entity, we're always required to take the lowest bids. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's nothing you can say about it. So it's normally the lowest bid, and that's what the Common Council had approved. So what we would need to do is to approve the same bids like Amy had just read off. Now, one thing I will say, when I saw this from Amy, I talked to her and I told her I was gonna contact Park and Rec, because I wanted to talk to Park and Rec, and it's one of these what-if things. My comment to them was, what if the HVAC's estimates come back in and they're $500,000? And I used a large figure. I said, do we have the opportunity then to get out of these other contracts? And they were going to be checking with the city and the attorneys. I have not heard back, but they felt that was a good question to ask. You know, if HVAC comes in, it doesn't pay to do all the other stuff if we don't have the funding to do the heating. So I just want to make that point. But I guess from our standpoint now, we have to take a look at the bids. I mean, we've got the dollar amounts and approve the construction dollars that the Common Council has also approved.
Let's see if, I guess I'm kind of voicing what you did. You have an out if the HVAC comes in too high.
I have questioned that, and they believe they were gonna get back with the attorney, and I have not heard back.
I think we ought to wait on this approval.
No, I do not think, we need to get this on the books with these contractors now, because we cannot wait anymore. We have waited, I mean, we pushed off a lot of this. COVID has done some stuff too by causing, we don't have time to wait.
Can we make a
This is
motion
it.
to accept what the Common Council does with the caveat of, like you said, getting with HVAC? I mean, we need to make the motion tonight so we can move
Right.
forward.
And one thing that Parks and Rec did say, the city project manager says, they do not believe it will come in higher than what our estimate is, and the estimate was 130,000.
That's what they presented last
Yeah,
time.
so I just want to let people know that, which would then put us in line, which would bring the dollar amount to about 335,000, 37,000. Because it's 207 and 130.
Yeah, and with a contingency of about 15,000, so it comes to about just over 350,000.
So yes, Karen, I think, would you like to make that motion?
I don't get the middle part wrong. I make a motion that we accept the Common Council's recommendations, awarding the bids with the caveat of waiting to see what the city attorney says regarding the HVAC bid. If we pull it off, something like that.
I think, I think we should put it that we would accept, we make a recommendation to accept the bid process that comes in, with the contingency that the HVAC comes in,
Within budget.
within reason.
So I would ask the question, does that really solve our problem? Because what we're really trying to do is be able to get out. When you say what comes within reason, we're now waiting till July for that, come back, that bid. Are we really just looking for a way to cancel the contract? Is it about waiting for the dollar amount to come in, or is it
No.
about with the ability, if it comes back under legal opinion that we can cancel these projects? Because you're talking about a dollar amount of what, if it comes in within that amount, well, we won't know that till, Amy, what is that
The
date?
30th.
The 30th. So that puts us it puts us a whole week behind, but if legal opinion says we can get out of these contracts tomorrow, then they can sign the contract. So my thought is we make that.
Did you come up at last night?
No,
See,
not
I
at all.
can't
There
get.
there was nobody expressing any hesitation
Okay.
whatsoever on it. The process was, and what was presented by Mike Gensch was, he didn't understand why the HVAC guys didn't bid the first time. Because in fact, now that it's been rebid, he said that the companies that normally bid on it, or who should have bid on it the first time, or who had asked questions about it the first time and opted out, have taken the packets. So he said he was dumbfounded, but you know what, it's the process, and there's no hesitation there.
Okay, and maybe I shouldn't have brought up that, and I should let the city deal with it if there is an issue, you know?
You have a project manager, and they're watching the bids
I'm willing to vote that we approve these bids without any contingency and let the city project manager manage it. That's what I can't make the motion though.
Well, what happens if we go ahead with this? And the other scenario is, what if the HVAC comes in too high? Then what happens?
I guess that's not something we can worry about. You know, we could play the what-if game all night, and if the common council has felt that it's okay to go, I'm putting my backing behind what they did,
So,
And we put our faith in the,
project manager.
yes.
I think the reality comes, correct me if I'm wrong here, Brett, but, you know, you guys approved it as a council last night.
Correct.
We approve it. The budget, the high end of this budget is $400,000. So if this HVAC comes over at $400,000, we've made our commitment as a library board. If it comes over that, it's Park and Rec's issue to start to dealing with. They're the project managers in the city. They have to, what are they gonna do? And, you know, what does that contract get out? I mean, it's not our contract, right? And we haven't transferred the money to the city at this point to pay the bill. I think that's the part of it. I mean, I get a little leery when you do a second round bid and people know you're really looking, but again, I don't know that business of HVAC, so I'm not gonna stick my nose one way or the
One
other.
of the things, Tim, let me just throw this out. One of the things that I not that I've been involved in a lot of bid processes, but I was very surprised at the short length of time that the original bid was given. There was a walkthrough, I think, on a Wednesday, and the bids had to be in the next Thursday. And that's a pretty short time frame because of how it got. So I think that might have been what.
And it all depends upon time of the year, how busy somebody is.
Right.
I mean, I see it all the time when I send out RFPs in bid processes where people normally, you know, that point, people I normally get to bid, we don't have capacity to do this right now. Well, sorry, this is important to us. This is my time frame. You're the vendor. This is my world, or this is our world in this project. I'm with you. I don't believe it's gonna come back at $200,000 or $300,000, but we've made our commitment to move forward up to these dollar amounts. If it comes back and we're $20,000 short, well, then I guess we're gonna have to talk to Park and Rec about how we're gonna move forward with this project and what that looks like.
I guess I would just caution you on the hesitation. You know, again, this is a good project, and you've taken it full bore. You got a lot of input, and you're always looking for input. Put your faith in the system and letting it work, and you're gonna have a good product when you get it done, you know? So these guys are professionals, you know, the contractors, for whatever reason, you know what, it could be, everybody's busy right now, you know, and they gotta look at scheduling sometimes and things like that. You know, we could sit here and guess why they didn't put the bids in the first time. Point is, they did the second, or they're taking out the packet, so Mike said he was very confident that they're gonna get a bid, so it's.
Karen, you wanna remake your motion?
I make a motion that we accept the bids awarded by the Common Council for the total of $207,370.
We all second it. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay. All right. Amy can get back and notify the city. Our next regular meeting, you put it in,
Yeah, it is, sorry about that.
would be August something, 20?
It's, no, it's,
Is it early? No. Let me look at.
it's a little earlier.
I have August 18th.
Yes.
Was it Tuesday, if that sounds right?
Yes.
So our next regular meeting will be August 18th. If things change with COVID, we might be back at the library, but otherwise we will be here again. Assigned tasks.
Okay, we got three things. All with Amy to come up with an ideal budget, to provide the cost for the adult and the children's program craft packets or the craft kits, and then to notify the city that we've approved those bids.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute section 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This is library director's evaluation.
So moved.
I need a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Potty break?
Absolutely. We can do that.
I think I asked that last time, so I didn't think touch it this time.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion.
Brad?
Oh.
Can you hear back?